Greetings of the day. Today we will be discussing about the histoarchitecture of the gastrointestinal tract under the paper Soft Course 1.9 Histology and Histopathology. So initially we'll be discussing about what actually is the gastrointestinal tract. Gastrointestinal tract is also called as the alimentary canal, which is a long muscular tube which begins at the oral cavity and ends in the anus. So gastrointestinal tract actually consists of the oral cavity, the esophagus, stomach, okay, the small intestine, large intestine, rectum, and the anus. The esophagus and the anal canal, they are called as the transport passages. They are only used for the transportation of the food material that we take in and the anal canal to remove the digested material from the body. So out of all these different regions of the gastrointestinal tract, the proper digestive tract, we call it as the region wherein the proper digestion and absorption takes place. And that is done from the region of stomach to the rectum. So the part of the alimentary canal from the stomach to the rectum, we call it as the proper digestive tract. This diagram, it actually represents the general structure of the gastrointestinal tract. The gastrointestinal tract, it is mainly composed of, or it is mainly made up of the four regions: the mucosa, submucosa, muscularis externa, and the serosa layer. So, throughout the gastrointestinal tract, that is from esophagus up to the large intestine, this general structure, it remains same. The mucosal lining, it consists of, or it comprises of the inner three divisions. We call it as the lining epithelium, lamina propria, muscularis mucosae. The next layer to the mucosa, we call it as the submucosa layer. And the next layer to the submucosa, we call it as the muscularis externa, which is made up of the circular smooth muscle as well as the longitudinal smooth muscles. And the outermost lining that surrounds or which protects this gastrointestinal tract, we call it as serosa layer, or we also call it as the adventitia layer. All these four different linings or the layers of the gastrointestinal tract, it remains similar from the esophagus up to the large intestine, except for few modifications in the mucosal region of the gastrointestinal tract. This picture or the diagram, which depicts or which gives a clear information wherein all the different regions such as mucosa, submucosa, muscularis externa, as well as the adventitial layer of all the different regions of the gastrointestinal tract. We can easily identify the lining mucosa or the mucosal lining or the three layers wherein there is deviation in the structures of the mucosal lining. In esophagus, we are unable to look into any gastric pits, but in case of stomach, the gastric pits is predominant. In case of small intestine, this is a small intestinal lining wherein we can see the presence of the intestinal villi. And in the large intestinal region, we can again see the glands which opens or which is similar to that of the gastric pits. And we can also see the presence of plexus. These plexus are nothing but the arrangement or network of the blood vessels that is seen in different regions of the gastrointestinal tract. So the innermost lining, we call it as a mucosa membrane. It is divided into the lining epithelium, lamina propria, and the muscularis mucosae. The lining epithelium is mainly made up of the columnar epithelial cells, which actually acts as the secretory or the secretory cells. The layer or the lamina propria region, it is mainly made up of the connective tissue, which gives the support for the epithelium. And then comes the last layer of the mucosa membrane. We call it as the muscularis mucosae. It is made up of thin layer of smooth muscles. Then later on, apart from mucosa membrane, the next layer which surrounds the mucosa membrane, we call it as the submucosal lining. This submucosal lining, it is mainly made up of the loose areolar tissue, And then the next layer to the submucosa, we call it as the muscularis externa. This muscularis externa, it is mainly made up of the circular and the longitudinal muscle fibers. And these muscle fibers, they give the thick layer, or which acts as the supporting layer for the mucosa as well as the submucosa region. And the last or the outermost covering of this gastrointestinal tract, we call it as the serous layer or adventitial layer. The mucosal lining, we call it as, or it is mainly made up of the columnar epithelial cells, which is mainly absorptive or secretory in function. These lining epithelium, it is mainly responsible for the extensive absorptive surface. How does this absorptive surface increases in its length? Means because of its considerable length, because of the presence of gastric pits, because of the presence of the intestinal villi, it gives the extension of the absorptive surface. There are presence of numerous folds which increases the absorptive area. There are presence of crypts and villi. And the epithelium, it also performs some secretory function where secretory cells are arranged as glands. Then moving on to the lamina propria. This lamina propria region, it is made up of the collagen or reticular fibers, which gives a rigid structure for that particular mucosal membrane. It is made up of fibroblasts, blood capillaries, lymph vessels, and nerves, which are seen in this layer. Mainly the lymphoid tissue, which is present as gut-associated lymphoid tissue, is seen in this lamina propria region. Then the last layer of the mucosa membrane, it is called as the muscularis mucosae. This muscularis mucosae, it is nothing but the muscle layer, which also comprises of the two layers. The first one is the circular muscle layer, and the last or the outer lining of this muscularis mucosae, it is mainly made up of the longitudinal muscle layer. This gives a rough ending of the mucosal membrane. This muscularis mucosa layer, which is mainly made up of the circular and longitudinal muscle fibers, which is helpful in the contraction of this muscularis mucosae, which is important for the local mixing of the intestinal content. Then comes the submucosa. This is mainly made up of the areolar tissue, and it consists of the blood vessels, lymphatics, the nerve fibers. All these are present in this submucosal lining. Then comes the muscularis externa. This muscularis externa, it is again made up of the circular and the longitudinal muscle fibers, wherein the thickenings, we call it as the local thickenings, where the circular muscle fibers, they form sphincters. These sphincters are present in the stomach region. For example, in case of pyloric region of the stomach, these sphincters are present. And these sphincters are being formed by the inner foldings or local thickenings of this muscularis externa lining. And see, this is the pyloric sphincter wherein we were speaking. So this pyloric sphincter is a region wherein it constricts the stomach region, which leads to the small intestine. So that constriction is mainly made up of, or it is the local thickening of this mucosal muscle lining. Then comes the outermost serous or the adventitial lining. We call it as the outermost lining of the gastrointestinal tract. This serous or adventitial lining, it is throughout from the esophagus up to the large intestine. This serous or the adventitial layer, it is common, or it forms the outermost lining. And also we can see the presence of nerve plexus. These nerve plexus are nothing but the formation of the arrangement of the nerve in the form of a network. There are two nerve plexus can be seen in case of the submucosal lining of the gastrointestinal tract. The first plex, we call it as the myenteric plex, or the plex of Orbach, which lies between the circular and the longitudinal coats of the muscularis externa. The next plex, we call it as the submucosal plex, or we also call it as the plex of Misner, which lies in the submucosal lining. And the third plex is also present, which is present in the muscularis mucosae. So, Coming on to the histoarchitecture of stomach in specific. So till now we were discussing about the general structure of the gastrointestinal tract, and here we will be discussing about the histoarchitecture of stomach in detail. So stomach generally we call it as a muscular bag which receives the food as bolus from the esophagus. And whatever the food that stomach it receives, it will be converted into a thick paste. We call that thick paste as chyme. Anatomically, the muscular bag or the stomach is being divided into 4 different regions. We call it as the cardia, fundus, body, as well as the pylorus. The fundus region is the region wherein the stomach has an upper curve. That region we call it as the fundus. And the region where the esophagus reaches the stomach, that region we call it as the cardia. And the region which connects to the small intestine, that is called as the pylorus or pyloric region. And coming on to the all different regions of the stomach. The stomach also, as discussed in the general structure of the gastrointestinal tract, it is divided into mucosa, submucosa, muscularis externa, as well as the serosa. Here, in case of the basic structure of mucous membrane of the stomach, the mucous membrane shows numerous folds, and those numerous folds of the mucous membrane of stomach, we call it as rugae. Okay, the foldings of the mucosal membrane, here we call it as the rugae. The lining epithelium of this stomach, it consists of the columnar or mucus secreting cells. The mucus secreting cells are important in the region of the stomach because it possesses or it has lining cells which are filled with this mucin. And this mucin is helpful to protect the lining epithelial or the columnar cells which is present in the lining epithelium of the stomach, wherein because the stomach, it produces the acids or enzymes. To protect the effect of these acids or enzymes on the epithelial lining, this mucus is being secreted, which actually protects the gastric mucosa against the acid or the enzymes that is being produced by the gastric glands. This is the diagram which represents the mucosal lining, wherein the mucosal lining, it has gastric pits. If we observe it clearly, if we take the cross section of the gastric pits, we can clearly observe that the gastric pits go inside the lamina propria region. It forms the depression. We call them as the gastric pits. These gastric pits at the terminal portion, they possess some of the glands or all the columnar epithelial cells in those gastric pits lining. They form glands, and those glands we call it as the gastric glands. And then comes the lamina propria. Lamina propria is the region wherein these gastric pits actually forms the depression. There is, in case of lamina propria, there is aggregation of some of the lymphoid tissues that can be seen, and these lymphoid tissue that is present in the lamina propria. Then comes the muscularis mucosae. As discussed earlier, this muscularis mucosae, as the name refers, it consists of the muscle layers, that is the circular and the longitudinal muscles are being present in this particular layer, which is basically helpful for mixing of the intestinal contents. Then comes the muscularis externa, which is helpful for the formation of the pyloric sphincter. And here in case of muscularis externa, it is mainly formed of 3 different muscle layers. Oblique, circular, as well as the longitudinal muscle layer is being, it has been formed, and the circular fibers are helpful for the formation of these sphincters. Apart from all these, there are different glands that is being present in the histoarchitecture of stomach. The first gland that is being present here is the cardiac gland. So this cardiac gland, it is mainly the mucus secreting gland, because this cardiac gland, it is mainly made up of the simple tubuloalveolar columnar epithelial cells. They are nothing but the mucus secreting cells. And they also possess the oxyntic or peptic cells, which is present in the cardia region, which is the opening from the esophagus. See, this is the region wherein the gastric pits or the lining of the epithelium, whatever the lining epithelium that is present in the stomach, that possesses the cardiac glands. These cardiac glands are nothing but the mucus secreting glands. Then comes the main gastric glands. The main gastric glands are present over most of the stomach. This main gastric glands, it is mainly made up of a simple or branched tubular glands which lies at right angle to the mucosal surface. These gastric glands are present near the tip of the gastric pits. Each pit possesses or which receives the openings of many gastric glands together. Apart from the glands, we can also discuss about the cells that is being present, different types of cells that is being present in this epithelial lining, out of which chief cells are one among them. The most numerous cells that is being present, we call it as the chief cells, peptic cells or zymogen cells. So they are particularly numerous in basal parts of the glands. These are mainly nothing but, they are the secretory, they possess the secretory granules in the apical parts of the cytoplasm. And these granules, they are nothing but, it consists of the pepsinogen, which is the main precursor molecule for the pepsin, and the luminal surface of the cells, which bear small irregular shaped microvilli. Here we can clearly observe the presence of the chief cells as well as the parietal cells. So next to the or near the gastric pits, we can easily identify the presence of the parietal cells as well as the chief cells. The chief cells are mainly present near the muscularis mucosae and the parietal cells near the gastric pits. Next to that, we can see or we can discuss about the presence of oxyntic cells. Oxyntic cells or parietal cells are large ovoid polyhedral cells with central nucleus. They are present or they are called as the oxyntic cells because they mainly or they take up the stain of eosin. That's why it is called as the oxyntic cells. They're also called as the parietal cells as they lie against the basement membrane. That's why it is also called as the parietal cells. And this is the structural view wherein the electronic microscopic view of the oxyntic cells, which is responsible for the secretion of the hydrochloric acid. As we have discussed, the structure of the oxyntic cells, it mainly consists of the nucleus, the mitochondria. All the cell organelles are present similar to any cell. So this is the diagrammatic representation wherein we can identify and spot the presence of chief cells as well as the oxyntic cells. So oxyntic cells are mainly present next to the gastric pits, whereas the chief cells are present near to the submucosal lining. So that is how the oxyntic cells, they are submerged inside the chief cells. And the next type of cells that is being present is the mucous neck cells. They are present in the upper end of the glands. So the gastric glands possess this mucous neck cells, which is present on the neck region of the glands. As these cells are large and they consist of clear cytoplasm, the nucleus is usually flattened and it is being pushed to the base of the cells, which is accumulated by the mucus. So this is the region wherein the mucous neck cells are present. The mucous neck cells are present at the the region where the gastric pit ends. And the surface mucus cells are also present, which forms the upper lining of the gastric glands. Then comes the endocrine cells. These endocrine cells, they are also the membrane-bound neurosecretory granules. They contain the membrane-bound neurosecretory granules. As they take up the silver salt staining, they are also called as the argentafin cells. These endocrine cells, they are mainly responsible for the secretion of the gastrin. And then comes the stem cells. As we all know, the stem cells are undifferentiated cells. The main function of the stem cells is they take up the role of healing. Whenever there is a damage or whenever there is a requirement of the new cells, these stem cells come to the role. So these stem cells, they act as a replacing any type of cells that is being present in that particular area. And then comes the pyloric glands. This pyloric glands it is nothing but the arrangement of some of the mucus secreting cells together for the helpful or for the secretion of the mucus in that area. All those mucus secreting cells together, they form the pyloric gland, which is helpful for the formation of the mucus, which is helpful for prevention of the damage that is being caused by the acid attack. And these are the pyloric pits that is being present next to the gastric pits. So this is all about the histoarchitecture of the stomach and the gastrointestinal tract. Thank you.